he gets accused in the film. Somebody says to him, well, Seth Rogen playing Steve Wozniak says to him, "You're not an engineer, you're not a designer, you can't compute, you don't do code. What do you do?" And of course, you feel like that sometimes as a filmmaker, because if the camera's broke, I can't fix them, and I can't act, and I can't do makeup or anything like that. But you kind of try and have a vision of something that you then, all the people who do have those abilities, you synthesize their talents towards that one focal point. So I'm not comparing myself to Steve Jobs, believe me, but there are some similarities to his job to what film directors do. And he was a great storyteller, of course, a great myth maker. And so that's one of the interesting things about doing a story of his that doesn't obey exactly what Apple would like you to believe about him. It actually is independent from these huge companies and actually tells its own story, which we didn't compromise even when we had studio trouble. We kept to our belief in the story as Aaron wrote it. It's actually a way of breaking the spectacle, if you like, the tradition of biopics, which tend to be cradle to grave and tend to skim across the surface of many established facts and cover as much ground as possible. And this was no, let's not do that. Let's take this image we have of him, which is in front of his product presentations, and actually dramatise the 40 minutes before he walks out on stage for 3 of them. And it's the same people he meets each time, which tells you it's an abstraction, it's an invention in a way, but it's not disrespectful, it's based on the evidence of those people, most of whom Aaron talked to extensively, and most of the scenes are based on things they said to him about the struggles they had with Steve. And through them, you try and illustrate what it is like to be Steve Jobs at that moment as well, because that's in the end is to try and find a way inside the man rather than the surface of the man. That's the idea. If you watch his work, he has a kind of intensity that's obvious. I mean, it's a ferocious intensity. That was very Jobsian. That's what we were told. People said, make sure you get the stare right, because that's all they could remember of him if they'd been on the receiving end. But more than that, it's that Michael he also has a very witty side, Michael, as well. There's a touch of the Cary Grants in him, I think. But he is uncompromising in the way that he approaches his subject matter. He's not going to compromise because the studio head says, can you make him a bit more likeable in that scene where he destroys somebody? Can we just have a bit more likability? This is a favourite word they like using. Michael would not entertain that. And I think you need that. Jobs didn't entertain that as well. You had a focus and that was your job to make people see it, come to life in front of you. And Michael does that as an actor. And I mean, he has enormous range and talent as an actor. And I think this film shows you just how extensive that is. Anyway, so he's a very special actor, yeah. I'm sure he thought sometimes, what am I doing? Because he did take on basically 3 months of absolute ferocious concentration. And his approach as an actor is to relax. So all the work has to be done beforehand, and then he can actually just relax in front of the camera. So yeah, I'm sure he regretted it some days, but I'm glad he didn't. I'm glad he finished it.